Thank you very much, John. I'm so honored to be here. And of course, welcome to all of our special guests here today. I have the honor of introducing Roddy Spear, who is a mother, wife, and engineer. She is the 2024-2025 Toastmasters International President. Roddy has been a Toastmaster for more than 2 decades. She is a charter member of AT&T Middletown Toastmasters and has served in many district leadership positions. As Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, she helped charter 27 clubs and was awarded the Excellence in Marketing Award. She is a distinguished past district governor of District 46, which included metropolitan New York and New Jersey. It was one of the largest districts in the world with over 250 clubs and over 4,500 members. Toastmasters International President Jana Barhill awarded her a presidential citation in August of 2009. She was honored to serve on the very first International Leadership Committee. Additionally, she spoke on a leadership panel titled Achieving Success in the Distinguished District during the 2009 Toastmaster International Convention. She was appointed as Region 9 advisor in 2015-2016 and served as an international director from 2017 to 2019. Outside of Toastmasters, I'm not sure where she finds the time, but outside of Toastmaster, Roddy has worked in the telecommunications industry for over 30 years. She is an electrical engineer working for AT&T in Middletown, New Jersey. She has expertise in software development, systems administration, and acceptance testing. She troubleshoots problems and develops software for projects that impact millions of people. She has 2 daughters and lives with her husband in Piscataway, and I apologize if I mispronounce that, New Jersey. Please, please help me welcome, and I'm so honored that she's here sharing her knowledge and experience with us. Please help me welcome International President Roddy Spear.
100 years ago, in 1924, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley had a vision. He saw the need to provide a supportive environment where individuals could develop their speaking and leadership skills. It's truly remarkable that a simple vision of one man 100 years ago has evolved into this international organization that has impacted the lives of millions of people. Today, we are here to celebrate our 100-year anniversary, a century of helping individuals find their voice, grow their leadership skills, build confidence. What an amazing legacy we have. When I reflect on my life and the impact Toastmasters has had on it, I am so proud to be a Toastmaster. Aren't you? Dr. Smedley knew so much. He gave us so much. He knew the importance of words. He knew that words were powerful. Some of you know my story. I used to be a very shy, quiet child. I grew up in Africa, in Lagos, Nigeria. I had a wonderful childhood. But since I was so shy and quiet, my first grade teacher was this tall, big man, like a heavyset Denzel Washington. And he would ask the children to stand up and answer the question. And I would just whisper. And he would say, "Speak up." And I would just tremble and whisper even more. Several years later, my family moved back to India. And since I'd grown up in Africa and Nigeria, I had an accent. I looked like the other kids, but every time I opened my mouth, they would start laughing at my accent. And I tried very hard to lose it. Years later, I came to the US for my master's in electrical engineering, and I was surprised that I was the only girl in all my engineering classes. I tried to sit in the last row and kind of blend in, but invariably the teacher would spot me and say, "Oh, could you come up and answer this question? Could you come and, write on the board?" And I struggled through school and college. I wish I had Toastmasters, but I found my home and my voice when I found Toastmasters. And like so many of you, I wished I found it sooner. In fact, Toastmasters would have helped me in my first job as well. When I was working, I thought I'm the new kid who just joined this project. I was very quiet. I would listen. I thought I was showing respect. But my boss actually called me aside and he said, "Do you understand what's going on? You're so quiet." And I'm like, "Oh, yes, yes, I do." But it's easier said than done. And Toastmasters gives one the confidence. Dr. Smedley, I have to say, was brilliant when he came up with the concept of Toastmasters. Everyone has a home. Their home is their club. If their club provides a supportive and nurturing environment, that member does well. So all we need is to make sure we have strong clubs and we can do well. Now, there may be some guests out here today who says, Radhi, it's been 100 years. Today, we have so many options. We have the traditional books and videos we could read or watch. I could watch YouTube videos. I could take a course in the local college. I could take a course online, LinkedIn, Coursera. Why do I need Toastmasters? But Toastmasters offers us so much more. Starting with, it provides you with a community of like-minded people who are there to help you, be there for you, support you. I have to say, during COVID, there were so many Toastmasters who told me that their club was what helped them get through Toastmasters, through COVID, that there was something that they could look forward to, something steady in their lives, see their friends, even though it was online. Toastmasters helped them. We have that community. And just to go over, there's so many things we learn we don't even realize. Just being a member of a club, for example, we all know we learn communication skills, but there's so much more than that. We learn time management. I have to tell you, working at a big company like AT&T, sometimes when we have meetings, the manager goes on and on. By the time we get to the point, the time is nearly up. And I wish they would all join Toastmasters. We have better run meetings. We have an agenda. We know exactly when things are going to happen, what time things end. We're learning presentation skills to use props, to use gestures. We have enhanced customer communications. In real life, like when I speak to my customer and they ask me a question, sometimes they don't even know how to phrase the question. I use my table topic skills to gather all my information, and then I give a response, and they're like, "Oh, yes, that's what I meant to ask." We learn listening skills. We learn how to give constructive feedback. When I have my end of year evaluation from my boss, it's given to me in private. Here we learn in Toastmasters to give it in public, and it's constructive, it's positive. I learn, and the audience learns. So we learn so many skills. Moving on, as an officer, even more. And it's all about experiential learning, right? We give you the training and we give you the opportunity. You're learning strategic planning. You want your club to be distinguished. We have improved customer service. Our members are our customers. We learn delegation. When you run a club contest, when you have an open house, when you're having an event like today, how much went into it? Who is in charge of the public relations, about the marketing? Who is the Zoom master? Who is going to take care of the raffle? So many things to think about. We learn budgeting. We're budgeting resources, people, money, who's getting the refreshments if you're meeting in person. So many things we learn. And the point is, we keep building on our skills. And what happens is we gain self confidence. We start just in the club, we have officer roles, take meeting roles, and then we run a conference. You could be a conference chair, an education chair, you're running the audiovisual equipment. So many opportunities in Toastmasters. And I have to say, one of my favorite quotes is by Dr. Smedley, who said, "Ours is the only organization I know dedicated to the individual. We work together to bring out the best in each of us, and then we apply these skills to help others." How great is that? We're not interested in making money. We're not worried about the stock market. It's all about the individual. I don't know of any other course or anything else that does that, helping you learn these skills. And over the years, as I read articles in the newspaper, in magazines, they all lead me to Toastmasters. For example, in the New York Times, I was reading social interaction is critical for mental and physical health. Where do we have social interaction? In our Toastmasters clubs. That's where we get to meet our friends, we get to network, we get to know how to make small talk. When I was just looking at The US Department of Labor, what do I see? Soft skills give you the competitive advantage. Where do we learn soft skills? In Toastmasters. I'm reading some more and looking in Forbes. 11 essential soft skills in 2024. I'm curious, what are these 11 soft skills they're talking about? And I got them all here for you to see. Everything we learn in Toastmasters, right? Communication, leadership, teamwork, right? Even running a club, you need teamwork, creativity. I have to say, our Toastmasters members are so amazing. They help you, whether it's in your Toastmasters life, your personal life, your professional life. For example, when I was running for international director, I told my club, I have to give a 2-minute speech in this huge hotel ballroom. There'll be over 1,000 people, and it's quite nerve wracking. My coworker, who hadn't even been to a district conference, let alone an international convention, booked the auditorium at AT&T, and he said, "Okay, visualize this place is packed, and there's just a smattering of Toastmasters. Now practice your speech." Right? It's just amazing, the creativity and time management, right? We learned that in our Toastmasters meetings. Adaptability, right? When COVID hit, we went overnight online. We are adaptable, problem solving. A few years ago, I think I was at a District 45 conference and a professor had a workshop. He was telling us how he had so many good students, so many foreign students struggling to get an interview just to get a foot in the door. And he recommended that they put Toastmasters on their resume and they were being called for interviews. I mean, he did some creative thinking, critical thinking, like this will help them. We all learn work ethic, conflict, every single thing that I mentioned here, we learn over and over again. So, my fellow Toastmasters, Dr. Smedley has given us so much. What is it that we can do to honor Dr. Smedley today in our 100-year anniversary? And I would urge you all, if you haven't done it, to please take the +1 pledge. Toastmasters has given us so much. Let us spread the wealth. It is not a zero-sum game. I can benefit, you can benefit, everyone can benefit. We can help everybody. So if you haven't done so already, please pledge to bring a friend, a guest, a neighbor, a family, a relative, anyone, so they too can benefit from Toastmasters. And by the way, don't just bring them to the meeting. Please close the sale. Ask them if they want to join. Have the forms ready, because our program works. We've been in existence 100 years. It's a tried and tested method. It works. And if you ask me, more than just the +1 pledge, I would suggest, Dr. Smedley was interested in our education. Level up, finish that level that you're working on, finish the path, do whatever it is that you're doing, help yourself, because that's what he wanted, to help individuals. If you don't have time to give speeches, mentor someone in your club because you have so much knowledge. And if you can't do that either, donate to the Smedley Fund, because the money in the Smedley Fund is used for educational purposes and to help youth leadership for underprivileged children who don't have the money. So there is so much we can do to honor Dr. Smedley, not just the district or the area or Toastmasters International, but every single one of us can. So I wish you all the best. I'm so glad that you're all in Toastmasters. Take advantage of all the opportunities, because this is an investment in yourself and this program really works. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Roddy Spear. Thank you for those inspiring words that remind us of why we love Toastmasters and what we value about Toastmasters. Next, we have Albert Cormier, who has put together some fun and exciting trivia for us, and he'll be here throughout at various times throughout the night. Albert has been a proud member of Toastmasters International since October 2018, and he currently belongs to the Halifax, Nova Scotia Club, Spirit Ed Toastmasters in District 45. He has served as Area 1 Director and District 45 Administration Manager in the past. In addition to promoting and participating in Toastmasters, His passion and vocation is designing and delivering adult education learning materials and programs giving motivational speeches. He also loves music and music trivia, which may be evident as Albert conducts a trivia trek of Toastmasters' last century of member success. Here is Albert with his first set of Toastmasters trivia questions. Albert Cormier.
I'm going to open with something you've all heard before. Can you see my screen? And John, I see you effusively nodding, so I take that as a yes. Welcome, everybody. The trivia sessions we're going to do tonight will be in 3 parts. We're going to be exploring Toastmasters the last 100 years from the organization, of course, that Dr. Ralph C. Smedley proudly founded and organized its first Toastmaster meeting on October the 22nd, 100 years ago in 1924, this being a picture of his first club, to today's Toastmasters, which looks a little different, but still celebrates that tradition. You can call this session your trivia trek. There will be no starships in this presentation, except I will add that Leonard Nimoy, Dr. Spock, was indeed a Toastmaster. Let the trek begin. Here's the first question. I'm going to read the question, and I will ask you to put the answer in the chat. Our chat masters, Anne and Joe, are going to collect the answers in 15 seconds, and then tell me after 15 seconds what the consensus seems to be, and then I'll unveil the answer. So here's the first question. Well, before I get to the questions, this is the first segment, the early years, which covers from 1924 to 1960. This is one of the clearest photographs I can find from the early years. This is the charter celebration of the second club in Anaheim on January the 19th, 1926. And you can see Dr. Smedley proudly standing next to the person holding up the charter for that second club. I'm going to go back a year, maybe a year and a half. I'm going to ask you, where was the first official Toastmasters meeting held on October the 22nd, 1924? And what is the name of that club? That first club that still holds meetings today. 15 seconds, please. Put it in the chat.
Some answers are coming in. Santa Fe, California, in the basement of the YMCA. Santa Fe. 15 seconds, and the consensus seems to be Santa Fe, California, YMCA basement. They haven't gotten to the second question yet, but that is the answers to the first one.
So it was a Santa, but not a Santa Fe. It was held in the YMCA building, yes, in Santa Ana, California.
Oh, yeah.
In the United States, and this is where Santa Ana is. This is the building the YMCA was first held in, and that club today, which still exists, is called Smedley Chapter 1 Club. And instead of the YMCA basement with those 20s looking cars outside, they meet in the First Presbyterian Church in Santa Ana. So thank you, everybody. Question number 1 is done. Now for the second question. Yes, you may infer that this one has to do with Canada. In what city did the first Canadian Toastmasters Club charter in 1935? I believe it was club number 38, and one of the first outside of North America. The second part of the question is, what is the name of that club that still holds meetings today? 15 seconds, please. Give me both responses.
We have Victoria, then a lot of Vancouvers. It seems to be between Victoria and Vancouver. And then somebody said First Canadians Club. There's been a couple of First Canadian clubs as the name of that club. But seems to be consensus between Vancouver and Victoria, or there's also a guess of Montreal.
I will have to say to Montreal, no. But good, bon Bonasse, good try. Here is the city. It is Victoria, British Columbia. So those of you who said Victoria, you are absolutely spot on. And that club here in Victoria, of course, was also in the southwestern part of the country, as was the first Toastmasters club in the United States. And that club is called, and I believe some of you did get that correct, First Canadian Toastmasters Club. I guess the name says it all. All right, he said with a filler word. Let's go on to the third question. Oh, before I do that, this is actually a shot of the First Canadian Toastmasters Club that meets online and that is available to Canadians and Americans to join. Now to question number 3. Some of you may recognize this periodical, and you may even recognize the person on the last cover. This is, of course, the Toastmaster magazine, which has adorned mailboxes and now browsers since 1933. In December 1930, TI began publishing a 6-page bulletin for its members. Now, this was actually a precursor to the Toastmaster magazine, which began its publishing in 1933. The question is, what was this bulletin called? 15 seconds.
No responses. Yeah, the gavel, the Toastmaster, the gavel, table topics, the Toastmaster. And that's 15 seconds.
Okay. So the Toastmaster was the name of the periodical that began publishing in 1933, which gradually transformed into Toastmaster in 2004. But the precursor to the Toastmaster was called the gavel. So for those people, those Gavaliers who said gavel, you are correct. And this is actually a photograph of the gavel with a bit of printing and a good old-fashioned typewriter. There's actually a passage in the bottom left that really speaks to Toastmasters and its visions. Speech and speakers are not made in a day. Don't drop out after a few weeks. Stick to it. Enduring wisdom. So the gavel was the correct answer. I also want to invite you, for those of you who love history and bought a Confident Voices or will win the Confident Voices tonight in the raffle, that you can actually investigate all the issues of the gavel, the Toastmasters, and Toastmaster magazine that are online. All you do is you go to the website, toastmasters.org/magazine/issues, and you can read it and not weep. It's all there. The last 100 years, or should I say 94 years, if my math is almost correct. That is the third question. And here comes the final and last question of this segment. It has to do with the Golden Gavel Award. Now, that Golden Gavel Award has been presented annually since 1959 to a non-Toastmaster who's been recognized as being distinguished in the fields of communication and leadership. Now, that Golden Gavel recipient this year was Lisa Sun, and she is an entrepreneur and fashion consultant who certainly wowed participants at the International Convention in Anaheim. My question to you is, who was the first recipient? 15 seconds.
That could be a tough one, Albert. Dale Carnegie is one guess. Dr. Smedley is another guess. Walter Cronkite, that is 15 seconds. You've got 3 guesses so far.
So Walter Cronkite, not a bad guess.
Oh, you got one more guess. Dr. Frank C. Baxter.
You got me. So Cronkite, Walter Cronkite was the year I was born, 1969. He got the Golden Gavel. But the first person to get it in 1959 is Frank C. Baxter. And Frank C. Baxter, this is him giving a documentary about DNA. You can see the double helix in the background. Dr. Frank C. Baxter, very interesting gentleman. He was a professor emeritus at English literature at University of Southern California when he received his Golden Gavel Award. And one of the things that he did before he received it was to be a very prominent television celebrity. He actually has a Hollywood star, Walk of Fame star. he was co-host, and this kind of connects back to the Golden Gavel recipient of this year. He was co-host of the 1956 documentary Our Mr. Sun. And here he is with a gentleman, actor who has a great last name, Eddie Albert. This documentary is online on YouTube. If you want to listen and learn about Dr. Frank C. Baxter and why he earned that Golden Gavel, watch it. Some of the music may remind you of Dark Shadows from the 1960s if you watch that soap opera, but there are no vampires in that one. That concludes your first round of trivia, the early years. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Albert Cormier. Albert will be back with us in a little while with more. But first, we have Terry Kingston. Terry Kingston is a recent arrival in District 45, October 2023, after 2 decades as a Toastmaster in District 61. She is a TEDx speaker, a TEDx coach, and an author, as well as our current District 45 International Speech Contest champion. She loves coaching other speakers to find their true voices, their core stories, and how to bring those stories to life on stage. Helping others ignite change, one story at a time, is why she is here today. Please welcome Terry Kingston.
Thank you, John. It's such a great pleasure for me to introduce our next speaker this evening. Kendra Ring joined Portsmouth Toastmasters in March of 2024. In May of 2024, just 3 short months later, I'll let that sink in for a moment, Kendra was standing on the stage at the District 45 conference in Freeport, Maine, in 2 contests, table topics, which she won, and the humorous speech contest, which she placed 2nd. That's quite an accomplishment for a brand new shiny Toastmaster. I love it. Tonight, she's going to share her winning speech with us. And then I'm going to ask her a few questions about her journey to the district stage. Her story is based on her experience meeting with family members that she had not seen since she was a child. It's a unique tale that she has grown to laugh about, and she hopes you will do the same. Please help me welcome Kendra Ring with her speech, Meeting My Family. Meeting My Family, Kendra Ring.
Like all funny stories, mine starts with my parents' horrific divorce. It was when I was a little kid, and it was so bad that my dad and his side of the family never even saw me grow up. We actually went about 20 years without seeing each other. But we're not here for pain and heartbreak, so please allow me to fast forward through my trauma to when I was 30 and thriving, because that's the age when I decided I was finally ready to meet my family. I drove on down to the Boston area with my partner, David, to meet my father, David, and my grandfather, David. Yes, they are all named David. I don't know why this name has followed me my whole life. It's also my brother's name. It was my boss's name. It was my colleague's name. Even my partner's father. Well, actually, his name is Tomas. But he goes by his middle name, which is David. They're everywhere. Anyway, there I am with 3/7 of the Davids, and the conversation is very light, very casual. Where do you live? What do you do? And somehow it comes up at some point that my partner David is Puerto Rican. And not long after that, my grandfather asks him, "Do you play baseball?" Now, some of you already understand what's happening here, but I was actually clueless, because the funny thing is, my partner used to work in the back production office of a minor league baseball team. So I am standing there thinking, my grampy is psychic. It wasn't until I had a moment with my partner when we were moving into the dining room that I was literally bragging about Grampy's supernatural powers, and he mentioned to me that there's a common stereotype that all Puerto Rican people play baseball. I did not know that. That's my bad. But at the same time, my Grampy is 92 years old, and I knew I loved him as a kid, and I just really wanted to love him. So I decided to look on the bright side. I mean, after all, who hasn't seen a TV or a movie with that classic gray-haired curmudgeon making comments that make the younger people feel uncomfortable? It was like a rite of passage. I finally had my very own racist grandpa. I walked into the other room, the dining room, with a big smile on my face. Still, the conversation stayed very light, very casual. Nobody wanted to bring up the elephant in the room, that 20-year absence, all the pain and heartbreak, why it happened. And honestly, I didn't think anybody would. Then, on my way to my car, I noticed my dad coming up behind me. And he said to me in his strangely inconsistent Boston accent, "Kendra, you should really have a doctor take a look at those ankles." My my ankles? I've never seen ankles that enormous. Now, friends, you know what? Let me be honest. Yes, it's true. I have cankles. Okay, fine. Body positivity. It doesn't even bother me. But in that moment, was that really the most important thing for him to say? I mean, by God, when I said the elephant in the room, I didn't mean me. But I took a breath. I decided he meant well and just had abysmal social skills. I thanked him for his comment. A little awkward silence passed, and then he asked me, "Do you like German food?" Okay, I think I know what this is, an olive branch, the opportunity for us to connect. I have, but I'd love to try it again. He nods. Just imagine 2 bratwurst sausages. That's what it looked like you shoved in those high heels. Just to say, my dad and I did not have a meaningful reconnection that day. We did, however, exchange email addresses. And after some time, my dad did reach out to me. And one of the first things he sent to me was this biting piece of satire that I absolutely loved. It was an article basically blaming anything bad that happened after the women's rights movement on feminism. Drug trafficking, blame women, school shooting, that's on the ladies. Did you know the COVID-19 pandemic could have been prevented if only the girls had stayed home and baked apple pie? It was hilarious. And the funny thing is, I never even talked to my dad about the fact that I liked satire. This was something we had in common, our sense of humor. I was so excited to finally get to connect with him. I sent him an email, and after a few back and forths, I learned 2 really interesting things. The first, this article was not satire. That was my bad. Very incorrect. The second, I have my very own misogynistic father. Another new opportunity for me to embrace. I was so excited. Continuing to have that relationship with him was even better than it was before. My dad and I continued to email each other, and as we went along the process, I learned a lot about him, and specifically that pretty much everything he finds important, I directly contradict. But he keeps emailing me. And because of that, it's made me realize that there is something we have in common after all. I mean, think about it. I am a liberal feminist woman living in sin who doesn't really have many domestic skills. In his mind, I am actively contributing to the most horrendous events on this planet, one unmade bed at a time. And yet, he keeps reaching out. Not only does he email me, but every year since this meeting, he's sent me a chocolate orange on Christmas and a birthday card that's never once been late. I realized that he, like me, wants to love me. He can't help but see the bright side too. And I love thinking that maybe, just maybe, he's bragging to all those other dads out there that he has his very own disappointing daughter. And she's got sausage legs. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Kendra. It's wonderful to hear that speech again. I remember laughing so hard when you gave it at the district. There's just so many things in there. Now, I have a few questions for you about what it was like, and then we're going to hand the program back over to the others. So we'll be very brief here, table topic style, but fast. Doing a speech more than once is a necessary part of the contest experience. You do it at club, you do it at area, you do it at division. What did you learn about your speech along the way?
That is an interesting question. I will be honest, I wasn't the best competitor where I didn't necessarily look at my speech between the different rounds of the competition. So I kind of had to read my notes very quickly right before I performed each time. I think what I've learned overall is that I just like to have fun. I give speeches that I want to listen to, that I enjoy giving. I don't really focus on what can be better as much as what will I enjoy more. And sometimes when I'm just walking around, I'll be like, ooh, that would be a cool idea. And I add it. And that makes the experience really fun for me.
Well done. Excellent. And so your family learned a few things about you through your speech, and we learned a lot about you as you gave us that speech this evening. Is there something that you would tell new members like yourself that may want to compete this year? Do you have one piece of advice that you'd like to say to them?
Why do you want to enter the competition? That is the most important question that you need to be able to answer. For some people, they're really competitive. They like going for the goal. They get energized whether they win or lose, and they want to win. Christopher is going to be on the panel, an awesome example of this. That dude is amazing. We're not all like that, though. I personally am not like that. I had a really great pep talk with Terry where she was telling me about her amazing 20-year journey and how the hard work she put in, how she got coaching, coached others. Halfway through that conversation, I felt like I never wanted to compete again.
Oh.
Because that's not what motivates me. I am trying to cultivate a sense of love for myself as I am now, no changes. So the idea of growing and getting better in that way sometimes conflicts with some of the, I'd say, cognitive distortions I have in my mind about me not being good enough the way I am. So that's not motivating to me. But my motivation still existed. I joined Toastmasters for community. I entered the competition to get myself out of the shell I'd been in, to have fun, to have an adventure, and because I was kind of curious how far I'd get. Those are all valid reasons to compete. The only thing I recommend is make sure you're aware of what your reason is and stay focused on it. Magnify that part of your experience. If you're not into the competitive part, don't think about it. Don't let it get in your head. You focus on what you're here for. If you do that, no matter what happens, you're going to walk away a winner.
Oh, that's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for your speech tonight and for your answers. I can't wait to see you have fun at the next level of whatever stage you do for Toastmasters. Thank you, Kendra, and back to you, John.
Thank you to both of you. What fun. We have Albert with us for more trivia. Please welcome back Albert Cormier.
Now that I'm unmuted, I'm ready. Let's look at the second portion of the trivia. And this is the end of the 20th century, which goes from 1960 to 1999. Toastmasters experienced a lot of growth in that time. Growth so much that it moved into its very first headquarters in Santa Ana, California, its own building in 1962, and then expanded yet again and moved a little ways away to Rancho Santa Margarita, California in 1990 with the foundation of its second world headquarters building But let's go to the questions. Question number 5. You may recognize this. In what year did Toastmasters International introduce its Distinguished Toastmaster DTM Award? 15 seconds, please.
No comment. 1984, 1970, 85, 59, that's 15 seconds.
Whoever said 1970, you hit it. This is actually the first mention in Toastmasters magazine about the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. I believe this is from the April version of 1970. March 1970 was actually when the program was introduced. And if you wanted, you could order your own DTM pin, which I showed you on the previous page. If you paid $5 with 30 cents for packing and shipping, fill out a paper coupon or a paper form and mail it with a check or money order. Things have changed a bit since then, but people still proudly wear their Distinguished Toastmaster pin. Let's go to the next question. Question number 6. This is from Toastmaster magazine, and this is the first picture I could find of women present at a Toastmasters meeting. The question is, in what year was the membership door open to women? 15 seconds.
'67, 1973, 76, 74, 1973, 73, 15 seconds. Consensus seems to be 1973.
And that consensus is correct. It was in 1973, the year after Helen Reddy's I Am Woman was released. In fact, in the following year, 1974, a Toastmaster from Alabama, Linda Green, gave a speech. And guess what the title was? Yes, it was I Am Woman. Definitely a major milestone in the Toastmasters evolution. Now to the next question, question number 7. And here's the question. We helped make the 1980s a transformational decade for Toastmasters. Who are we? And I'd like you to put the names from left to right. I suspect we'll get some correct responses, but 15 seconds.
This one may take a little bit more time to type up.
Okay, sure.
But no,
We'll give them a few more seconds.
Yeah. John Fauville, Helen Blanchard, and Ted Wood. So far is what we have as an answer. And that is 20 seconds, actually.
And that is correct. So the first person who was in the middle of that picture is Helen Blanchard. She was our first female international president from 85 to 86. In fact, she was the first international director who was female in the late 70s, but certainly took that full circle. On the left-hand side, should I say on the right-hand side, was our first African-American international president, Theodore, who went by Ted C. Wood, from 86 to 87. And the last, of course, was the one gentleman on the left-hand side, John Fauville, who was our first international president from outside of North America. He came from New Zealand and served from 87 to 88. So the 80s brought things even further than before. The last question of this second round of trivia has to do with the accredited speaker designation. TI granted the first accredited speaker designation in 1981. My first question is, who are the first 2 recipients? My second question is, who is the only District 45 Toastmaster to earn this designation to date? That person is on this call and is not allowed to answer that part of the question. 15 seconds.
For the second part, everyone is guessing Joe Grondin.
How about the first part? That is correct. How about the first part?
Nobody's answered the first part yet. Everybody's answering Joe Grondin, but no answer to the first one yet.
So Go back to 1981. Remember what you heard on the radio? Do you remember when Lionel Richie and Diana Ross were celebrating their endless love? Well, Toastmasters was celebrating as well with the first accredited speaker designation. The two recipients were Dr. Ferdinand Chen and Hubert E. Dobson, who went by the nickname Dobbs and was a DTM. As you can see, bell bottoms were very popular even back then, but haven't really stayed with us to this day. However, the honor of receiving that accredited speaker designation has remained. And of course, Joe Grandin, our designated Toastmaster, is District 45's first AS accredited speaker. That concludes your second round of Trivia Trek.
Thank you, Albert. We now have a 5-minute break. Our international president reminded us that time management is one of the skills we value here in Toastmasters, and in that spirit, we plan to return and start again on time in 5 minutes at 7:55 Eastern Standard Time. See you then.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Oh, I think I just missed her.
Just a quick reminder, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good time and learning some things. I wanted to remind everybody that if you'd like to enter into the contest for a raffle for 2 copies of the Confident Voices, the story of Toastmasters, please enter raffle in your first and last name in the chat if you haven't done so already. No stuff in the ballot box. We'll be having our raffle later on in the show. Thank you very much.
It is 7:55 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody, for commitment to time management. Welcome back, everyone. Next, we have Ivana Cookson. Ivana Cookson lives in Maine and has been a Toastmaster since 2020. She is a former area and division director, and her passion is motivating others to see their potential. Please welcome Ivana Cookson.
Hello, hello, and thank you, Toastmaster John. I am excited to introduce and read the bios of our 5 panel members. We have 3 DTMs, Sheila Orange, Jim Kakachi, and Olivette Oviso. And we also have 2 newer members, Christopher Hannon, PM2, and Kendra Ring, MS1, who you've already heard the intro to. So let me start with Sheila. Sheila Ranch has been active in Toastmasters since 1974. She was one of the first 2 female Toastmaster members in New York State. She is a past president of White Mountain Toastmasters in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and she has served in many offices in clubs and in 3 states. She has led many youth leadership programs, helped with speechcraft programs, co-led a Toastmasters club in MCI Framingham, which is the only women's prison in Massachusetts, and chaired numerous clubs and area events. Sheila credits much of her success in life to her Toastmasters training and the support of her Toastmasters colleagues and friends. She is a Toastmaster lifer because it is so much fun to share the growth and success of new members. Toastmasters has been a lifeline for her through many challenges. It works if you work it. Next, we have Jim Kakachi. He is a DTM, a writer, speaker, and a speech coach residing in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. After a first career that spanned information technology, sales, and marketing, Jim's retired from Bell Alliant Telecommunications in 2012. During 2015 and 2016, Jim served as international president for Toastmasters. From 2017 to 2021, he served as president and board chair of L'Arche St. John, an organization that works with people with intellectual disabilities. In 2020, Jim published Secrets to Becoming an Effective Public Speaker, which is available on Amazon and in several chapters Indigo locations. In 2021, his second book, Winter Road Hockey, was also published with Amazon. Next, we have Olivette Oviso. Olivette, DTM, is a longtime member of Toastmasters International, having joined Exeter Speak Up Toastmasters, Area 10, District 45 in January of 1993. During her membership and her employment, as well as volunteer activities in Master Gardeners and AARP, she has had many opportunities to deliver speeches to many audiences. She has served in club leadership positions in Toastmasters, as well as during her employment and volunteer activities. She is a past district governor of District 45, leading the district to its first President's Distinguished District status in 1999-2000. And we have Christopher Hannon. He is the host of the Diamond Legacy podcast and currently works in Kennebunkport as a server. He has aspirations to transition into trading full-time, loves to buy and sell on Facebook Marketplace, and recently picked up golfing as a hobby. He joined Toastmasters in February 2024 and has grown quickly. Since being here, he recognized the opportunity to grow our clubs and District 45. That's why he is also spearheading a new plan called the 10x30 Next Generation Initiative. The goal of the program is to provide educational materials and marketing content to help District 45 clubs grow their enrollment of 18 to 30-year-olds by 10 to 30% by the year's end. He also has ambitions to compete in the 2025 Toastmasters speech competitions. And as I mentioned, Kendra's intro was already introduced by Terry, so I will have Tom Macisso join me and start the panel discussions.
Good evening, everybody, and special good evening to our panelists. Thank you for volunteering for this for our members. The first question is for Jim, and then we'll ask some others as well. What is the leadership skill that you learned and treasure most in Toastmasters, and how did you benefit from it?
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ivana. Thank you, everybody. So many, obviously, so many skills that we practice on a regular basis. And I hope everybody treasures that opportunity to practice week after week at your meetings. I'm going to say the leadership skill that I treasure most is adaptability. And I'm still a member. I'm a member in 4 clubs. I attend 2 meetings a week. And every week we need to be adaptable, don't we? And that's a huge leadership skill. I was at a meeting this morning. We had technological issues, needed to adapt to that. And that is truly leadership. It's making sure the 50% of the people who were joining us online were having as good an experience as the 50% of the people at our meeting this morning in the room. So I'll go with adaptability.
Thank you very much, Jim. Sheila, how about you? What is the leadership skill that you treasure most from Toastmasters?
Tom, it's active listening. I was born talking, apparently. So talking was not a problem. Communicating is more than just talking. To really understand someone else, you have to be able to listen to what they're really saying, where it's coming from, and not just the words. In leadership, understanding who you are leading and what their why is, as Kendra said, what's your purpose? It's the most important thing.
Thank you very much. All of that, how about you? What is the leadership skill that you treasure most?
Thank you so much, Tom. I learned the importance of organizational and planning skills during the time in Toastmasters, in leadership, and ultimately in the district. So I think that those were the 2 things that I carried with me from then until now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ivana.
Okay, my questions are for Kendra and for Christopher. So it's the same question. We'll start with Kendra. What are your personal or professional goals, and how do you think Toastmasters can help you with those?
I joined Toastmasters because I'd been struggling with depression and anxiety for a very long time. And I use that past tense, but it's still a battle. I joined Toastmasters not so much about the public speaking part, but more for the community aspect. My partner was a member and he invited me and he said, I know you like doing this stuff and they're nice people and I think you'd have a good time. He was right. I did. I've gotten to know the people in my group. We cheer for each other. They cheer for me. Tonight, I actually had some very close friends and family, the friends in particular I hadn't seen in years, that actually signed on to watch me give this speech tonight. That meant so much to me. A huge, huge deal for me in my life. I'd like to be able to think about the professional side. I'd love to think that maybe I am meant to be a speaker of some kind. But for right now, I'm focusing on trying to be a better version of me, enjoying my life, loving myself as is. And Toastmasters has, in fact, helped me with that, just by the fact that so many of you are so kind and make me feel like I am part of this community.
Wow, I love that. That's beautiful. And Christopher, how about you? Same question.
Well, thank you, Ivana, and thank you to everybody for being here tonight. When I joined Toastmasters, I have always had, like you said, I was born talking. I think I might have been born with the same condition that you had. I don't know if this is genetic or if it's transmissible, but I certainly feel as though I've always felt like my voice was a big part of who I am. And it's something that I felt I've used before, and I really wanted to hone in and develop to become better. And when I joined Toastmasters, I thought that I had a pretty good grip on what it meant to speak and to communicate clearly. And there has been no more humbling experience than to learn how many levels there are to this by the community that Toastmasters has. the leadership at the annual convention, competing, the advice I've gotten, everybody's input. It's really helped me stay ambitious and hungry to develop as a person, and then use my voice for positivity. I don't know exactly what that means into the future, but I don't think that being equipped to speak is always a bad thing to have. You should always be willing to speak. So thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. I love that. Tom, you want to ask your next question?
Sure. Thank you, Ivana. We'll go ahead and start in reverse order now with Olivet. Olivet, what has been the greatest Toastmaster challenge for you? And if you don't mind sharing briefly, how did you overcome it?
Thank you, Tom. A challenge. Communication, excuse me, it has been my biggest challenge because in order to be a good communicator, you have to be a good listener as well as a good speaker. And making a connection with my audience is always a challenge. You have to meet your audience where they are and then provide them as best you can with what you believe they want to hear from you. So that has been my greatest challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivet. Sheila, how about you? What has been your greatest Toastmaster challenge? And being an outstanding Toastmaster, how did you overcome it?
There are a lot of people on this call who know me, and if they would all unmute and say it all at once, timing. I love to talk. When I get up to speak in front of a group, I get excited and start interacting with the audience. Then everything that I have planned and rehearsed and outlined can go out the window because I am responding to how they're responding to me. I am capable of staying in time. I've gotten much better over the last couple of years. I think it will always be a challenge just because my basic personality is a Labrador puppy with muddy feet who wants to jump all over you. I do have to make one disclaimer here. I am not a distinguished Toastmaster. Believe it or not, you can be active in Toastmasters for 50 years and not achieve that designation, because every time I was doing something like starting a club, somebody else in the initial charter group wanted that designation, so I would always let them have it. Gotcha. So I could have been a DTM many times over. It just wasn't the thing I did.
Well, thank you very much, Sheila. And Jem, what has been your greatest Toastmaster challenge and how did you meet it?
First, I'm going to give Tom a Toastmaster challenge. You need to find a way to get Sheila to DTM this year. And my greatest challenge, I'm not much of one for looking back. I'm always looking forward. So I mentioned I attend 2 club meetings, and one of my primary club is St. John Toastmasters. And last year we started the year with 28 members, added 24, and ended the year with 28 members. And I still don't understand how that happens. So my greatest challenge is working with the current club executive, who I'm not a member of, to make sure we're doing a great job of onboarding and keeping people engaged, because a club that starts with 28 and adds 24, we should be much larger. So for me, we're always going to have problems, and solving problems keeps us young and engaged and excited and feeling accomplished. I need to feel accomplished. So the greatest challenge is one that I'm currently working on to make sure that the clubs I'm participating in are successful in meeting the needs of our members.
Thank you very much, Jim. Great answer. Ivana, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. My next question is for Christopher. In your intro, I mentioned that you're spearheading a plan called the Next Gen 10 x 30 program. Did you want to elaborate on what that is?
Yes, and thank you for taking your time to that is a long title. I will admit. I think that the 10 by 30 could probably be condensed down. So that is the first challenge we will be tackling if I am elected. No, I'm just kidding. So the 10 by 30. So it's important that we kind of start a little bit from the idea. I feel like it's important to start from the beginning to understand where we're going and then what the results might want to be. So, as you knew, I joined Toastmasters in February, had ambitions of doing the competition just for fun to see what would happen. Turns out things ended up going pretty well and went to the annual competition and was able to take stock of the room and meet so many wonderful people. And I grew so much in that short amount of time. Toastmasters, in just those short couple of months, totally changed my ability to speak and communicate with people in a huge way. It started immediately. After just 2 or 3 sessions of getting feedback and changing and really being engaged, I started to notice that in my personal life, just simply speaking with people, I was beginning to gain more attention. I was keeping people's attention. I was also able to, as Sheila said, I was able to be more active in my listening because people were responding to the way that I was communicating with them. And so what I noticed is that in just a short amount of time, Toastmasters really did begin to transform my life. And when we were at the convention, one thing I noticed was, you know, I feel there should be much more activity. There should be many more people here. Why is it that it was a great event? I had an amazing time. It was not taking away from it, but I thought, wow, looking at this and looking at all the potential and all of the people here sharing their stories, there's so many people that need to hear about this. Just plain and simple. People need Toastmasters in their life. Think about it. 5 years ago, well, 4 years ago, COVID hits. The people who were at the beginning of COVID with lockdowns were 14 years old. Those same people today, 4 years later, are now 18 and early into their college careers. Even the people who are older are maybe into the workforce and they're struggling with communication. Think about how disconnected we all got used to being. We did a great job with Toastmasters staying connected, but it was not the norm. We were fortunate, and that's because we have a great community. So as I was there, I kept thinking to myself, wow, there needs to be a lot more people knowing about this. And then after the event, Sharon reached out to me and said, hey, we want to talk to you more about how we can get people like you, your age. How do we talk to you guys? How do we get more of you involved in Toastmasters? Because it seems like there's a big divide between, there's a big gap in this demographic. And so we began talking, going back and forth. And just throughout our conversation, it became apparent that I think that there could be an ongoing initiative. There could be an ongoing hand in hand, club in club, VPE, presidents, everybody working together initiative to really bring in more people. Because when we can bring in more people in this younger demographic, we could really inject some new life into Toastmasters, into District 45, and grow at a very rapid rate. So, long story short, we both saw a need. I think everybody sees a need. I put out a survey and a lot of people answered and expressed that there was probably a need for this demographic, 18 to 30, the young people. And so this program that I'm helping work on is going to consist of training and ideas for the clubs. It's going to be an internal document that everybody will be able to learn from. I put it together. It's about 20 pages. It is a step-by-step exact thought process of what I would give as if I were talking to you in your club directly on how to talk to people in our age demographic. I'm also going to be working with other young Toastmasters such as Kendra and others. Kendra is all right. We'll talk about it. But basically, we're going to be working on putting out other materials. That's okay. Oh, man, really? Damn, good skincare. Whatever you're doing, nice job. We're going to be putting out marketing materials that is going to be honed in, engaged towards 18 to 30-year-olds. And then also working at the club levels to help teach people what do we need and where can we find people? Where do we talk to these people? So The 10 by 30 is basically a program addressing the need that we have a huge gap and that we can fill this in. So that's the 10 by 30 in a nutshell.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I can't wait to see that take off. Kendra, for you, a question. I know you were asked what advice you would give someone entering a contest, but what advice would you just give in general to a new Toastmaster?
Yeah, I can think of two different pieces of advice. One is similar to what I said before, which is know what you're there for. Keep in mind that Toastmasters is made for people who are intending to improve their public speaking skills. There are a lot of people who have very advanced speaking skills and have been there for a long time. They want a lot of feedback. They want you to count every single thing they got wrong because they're going to get better. And there are other people who come in who have crippling social anxiety. For them, they just want to be able to go up on the stage, say at least 2 words, and not have a heart attack. That's okay too. It can be a little intimidating when somebody is literally counting every single time you say especially if you say it a lot. Disregard that. Disregard that if that's not what you need right now. Look at what your goals are, focus on that, take in only what you need and what's valuable to you right now. The second thing I'd say is get to know your fellow Toastmasters. You've got this group of people that maybe would never interact with each other outside of this meeting, all from different walks of life, different stories, different goals. Learn about them. There may be people you never would have interacted with otherwise, and now you get an opportunity to hear their story, to find their little quirks, what makes them laugh, what makes you laugh, what you can enjoy together, what inspires you and them. It's really amazing when you start to cheer each other on because you know each other's goals and you know each other. Today I saw in the little chat here, the participants, someone from my club came in and she came here just to watch me. This woman could have done anything else with her day, anything at all. She came to support me. We're friends. I made a friend. I love thinking that. Plus, I get to cheer on them for their goals. That friend that came in here, she recently told us that when she started, she was at like maybe a 1 or 2 as far as comfort level with speaking. At this point, a few months in with us, she's a 6. I love that. I am so happy for her and I am so proud of her. And I get to feel that because I get to be part of this community. So know what you're there for and get to know everybody else. That's my advice.
Thank you so much, Kendra. And what great advice, not only to new Toastmasters, but to all of us, right? Back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Ivana. Jim, what advice would you have for a member that wants to start a new Toastmaster club?
Oh boy, if you want to start a new Toastmaster club, find a community, and that community might be a physical location, it might be a work location, it might be just a community of people who've got a similar interest. Could be an arts community, community of people who are working with a social issue. But that's, I think that's the key. It's find common interests, find people who have a problem they want to solve together, something they want to work on together, and help them understand how improved communication and leadership skills can be part of that. And it's interesting. Everybody I think everyone is called as a Toastmaster, so we know all the subtle social skills we practice and develop. We know all the subtle little leadership skills we develop. People, that's very difficult to communicate to a market, to a group of people, a potential club, a potential member. People need to experience it. So once you find that community, it might be small to begin with, 2, 3, 4 people, bring them together, find a common time that they can meet, find a place, and start building towards that club. And those who've been through it know that it's a long struggle. Many of us stagnate at 17 to 18 members, but if you stick with it, I'm sure you can find a way to get to 20 members and then on for perpetuity. Thanks,
Awesome.
Tom.
Awesome. And we have a club growth team that's ready and willing to help you. We look forward to that. Sheila, how about you? What advice would you give if you were going to start a Toastmaster club?
I want to mash this question with a different question. Youth leadership, youth leadership, youth leadership. back in my Massachusetts district, I think it was 31, I was district youth leadership coordinator because I ran so many youth leadership programs.
Mhm.
As Christopher has demonstrated, young people can adapt and learn so much faster because they're already still in learning mode.
Yeah.
A group of 15 to 18-year-olds will do in 6 to 8 weeks what it takes the average adult 2 years to do. They just whip right through it. By their third meeting, they're running their own meetings. They've elected their officers. They're starting to plan their graduation ceremony. If you want to bring that demographic into Toastmasters, do speech crafts at special interest groups, at any community center, at any clubs. Do youth leadership programs because they're going to eventually be 18. Even if they don't join your club, they will join a club. That is mashed together with what has been the most fun for me. For me, having new people, youth leadership, speechcraft, new Toastmasters come in and have that transformative experience, find that community, friends all over the world. Every time I've traveled, I've looked up to see if there's a Toastmasters meeting where I'm going, call up. There might not be a meeting, but I might get taken out to dinner. I will have made a new friend, no matter where you go. I just want to encourage our district specifically to reach out to the immigrant communities, to reach out for diversity, to approach special interest groups, get with Rotary, get with Kiwanis, get with Lions, talk to your chambers of commerce. Just let them know what we are and what we do.
Mhm.
And come to my webinar Thursday, where we're going to be talking about promoting your club.
Thank you, Sheila. And all of that, any advice for what you would do if you were starting a new Toastmaster club?
My goodness, my predecessors have done a wonderful job of
I know.
outlining
Yeah.
things to think about when you're trying to start a new club. I also wanted to bring in something that you had said, Tom, or maybe it was Sheila. Nonetheless, both of you mentioned the fact of having existing Toastmasters be supportive of the new group. We have that technology. We might as well put it to good use and make that new club happen. Find a group somewhere, maybe several groups somewhere. Way back when, we used to do something called demonstration meetings, demo meetings. There's nothing wrong with not reinventing the wheel. Use that same process. Demonstrate what a speechcraft will do. People don't know. Toastmasters is still a secret organization. Bring it back and bring it with a demonstration that shows people this is what it's all about. It's not complicated. It's easy to do. And a demo meeting can be absolutely hysterical if you have the right people involved. Those are my suggestions. Thank you, Tom.
Great advice, all of that. All of you, Sheila and Jim. Really, really good advice. At this time, I'd like to turn control back of the meeting to John, our Toastmaster. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Ivana, and thank you to our panel. We now have, for the final round of trivia, Albert Cormier.
You may all be having deja vu because you've seen the screen before. Here is the third and final round of Toastmasters Trivia. The 21st century so far, from 2000 to 2024. two things that sort of mark this era are the foundation of our third headquarters in Inglewood, Colorado, just south of Denver in 2018. And there it is. So we moved to the central of the United States. And of course, District 45's first international president, Jim Kakachi. And now that Pat Johnson has joined District 45, I guess, Jim, you become the second international president from District 45. Welcome to both of you tonight, and thank you for coming. So here is the last session of trivia, question 9. We all recognize this. This is the Toastmaster logo, which was rebranded in 2011. My question is, how long had it been since the last logo was updated? 15 seconds. And what do we have?
15 years, 1944, 25 years, 1989, and that is 15 seconds. A wide variety of answers for this one.
So the logo actually came that we used to use in 1961, although it was colorized in 1996. The 2011 logo, the Toastmasters International logo, got rid of the continents because we couldn't show all the continents that had Toastmasters clubs anymore. And Toastmasters decided, and I think Pat Johnson was the international president when this was done, it was rebranded with very bright colors. So we have True Maroon, Loyal Blue, and Happy Yellow. So beautiful, vibrant colors. And the longitude latitude lines represent the dynamic rotation and growth of this organization. 50 years. Better late than never. Here comes our next question. Who am I? And what tradition did I start at the Las Vegas International Convention in '92 with fellow Irish Toastmaster Brian O'Connor? 15 seconds.
Ted Corcoran. And the sing-along. That is so far what we have for answers.
So,
15
yes,
seconds.
Ted Corcoran. He's nicknamed the Irish Oracle, and he was international president from 2003 to 2004. Wonderful man with a wonderful sense of humor. Luckily, for this case, what happens in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas. The sing-along evolved into an official part of the Toastmasters International Convention to top off days 1, 2, and 3. Trying to find a video of a sing-along was a bit of a challenge, but I found this one. This is from the 2012 Orlando International Convention. Adam Sue led the people without choking up in the green, green grass grew all around, and the green grass grew all around. And you can see that it's been a long day, and poor Ted is not nodding off, but that's a long day, but still in the festivity of the sing-along. Here comes the next, or the penultimate question. The World Championship of Public Speaking. Now we know that COVID-19 derailed our plans to have it in Paris, France. However, we had a wonderful international convention in 2020 and 2021. My question is, who won the only virtual World Championships of Public Speaking in the 2020 and 2021 international conventions? 15 seconds.
Mike Carr and Verity Price. Verity Price. Mike Carr.
I didn't really manage to stump, did I? So absolutely. In 2020, Mike Carr won the International Championship of Public Speaking. with his presentation about his teacher, Mrs. McGillicuddy, and Verity Price won the 2021 championship by telling us to write our own story as per the advice of her late father. Here comes the final question. Who are we? What do you have in the chat, Anne?
Nothing yet. Perhaps you stumped. Oh, the board of directors. It's now coming in now. It seems to be unanimous as the 2024 board of directors.
Correct. This is the 2024 to 2025 board of directors. The person who is standing in the middle of this picture, of course, graced our stage with a speech earlier tonight, our international president, Roddy Spear. These are our board of directors. And I'm going to sort of break it down for you. Our 2024 to 2025 board of directors consists of two groups of people. We have the international officers. So, of course, Roddy Spear is our international president, or IP. Morag Matheson was our immediate past international president. Our international president-elect, or IPE, our president next year will be Aletta Rocha. Stefano McGee is our first vice president, and Gauri Seshadri is our second vice president. But this is only 6 of the board of directors. The other members of the board of directors represent Toastmasters' 14 regions. This is from the recent realignment from July of this year. There is an international director that represents each of these regions. And those international directors are as follows. Where we in District 45 are in that light yellow region that sort of includes Eastern Ontario, Quebec, the Atlantic provinces, Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire, District 45, we are in Region 5, and Farzana Chauhan is our Region 5 International Director until next year when we re-elect the odd region number international directors in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Last but not least, you may recognize these people. These are our past international presidents. Of course, our current international president, Roddy Spear, and our international president-elect, Aletta Rocha, at the 2024 International Convention. Interesting fact, the third gentleman standing up from the left is Bill Hamilton, and he was the president who awarded the very first accredited speaker in 1981. He looks really good and is still with us today. So I say, here's to another 100 years of growth and transformation. Woo! Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Seacrest or call me out.
And now it's time for the raffle. Before I bring back Ivana, I will tell you a little bit more about the prize. Celebrate 100 years of Toastmasters with Confident Voices, the story of Toastmasters. This book is a chronicle of the organization's rich history. Discover how Ralph Smedley's vision to improve communication and leadership evolved into a global powerhouse with clubs and members in nearly 150 countries. Ivana?
Thank you. How exciting and what a prize. For this, I will have one of our Zoom masters, Anne, to share her screen, and she will have a wheel of names. And the wheel is going to be used to pick 2 people who entered into the drawing for the book. Anne, are you able to share your screen?
I am.
All
Can
right.
you see that? I do believe I've captured all the names, or at least most of the names. There's a couple of names that are just first names, so I may need some help in identifying them, but let's give it a spin.
All
Good
right.
luck, everyone.
Here we go. And the first winner is Felisto.
It said Felicto's iPad.
Oh, that
I'm
must
not
be Cito. Cito,
Not sure.
congratulations.
Okay. Great. We'll do
And
one
then we'll
more.
remove him. Okay. Oh, that was a close one. And it is David Tucker. Congratulations. You won the second book. So that concludes the raffle, and I will turn it back for the last time this evening to our Toastmaster, John.
Thank you, Ivana. As we near the end of our time together, I will bring back Sharon Joseph for her closing remarks. Sharon Joseph.
Thank you so very, very much to everyone who participated. So much effort went into all of this to make it such an amazing, amazing celebration for Toastmasters 100th anniversary. I am so honored to have everybody here sharing this special time with us. This is, in fact, a once in a lifetime opportunity to celebrate such a great organization. I thank you all for your time. I thank all of the organizers. Thomas Suso, you and your team did an outstanding job. And with that, I look forward to an extraordinary year where we are going to leverage all of the skills, the knowledge, the wisdom that was shared today to continue to grow District 45, which I believe is the best district in the world. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great night.